Welcome back to the Fly with Her podcast. I'm your host, Maya.
And I'm Aitana. We're so excited to have you here with us for another episode.
Today's guest is a pilot whose aviation journey began after moving from Samoa to the United States with her husband, who was pursuing his own dream of becoming an airline pilot.
After working at Skyborne Airline Academy and witnessing students achieve incredible milestones, she decided to take a discovery flight of her own, and from that moment, she knew she wanted to become a pilot.
Since then, she's earned her single-engine, multi-engine, and instrument ratings, and is now working towards becoming a certified flight instructor.
Loira, welcome to the Fly with Her podcast. We're so excited to hear your story.
Thank you. I'm grateful to be here.
Loira, please could you introduce yourself to our listeners? How did you get into aviation and where are you now in your journey?
Hello, my name is Loira Mayaba Escobar, and I am from Samoa originally, but in 2022, I moved to California, to the U.S., and I got married to my husband, and then he was selected to be in the Delta Propel program, and then we moved here to Vero Beach, Florida, where we are both now in the aviation industry. But how I started my journey, I actually I did not even plan to even set one foot in the industry, in the aviation industry, right? But I was at home. I didn't really do anything. I was bored. So I thought, okay, well, obviously I needed to find something to fill my time. Um, and I was just curious because my husband would come home and he would talk to me about his flights. And in my head, I'm like, I don't know why he's doing this because obviously I don't understand anything he's saying. So it feels like it's just going over my head. I'm like, what's the stall? What's the aileron? I did not know what that means. And so when I found out that Skyborne Airline Academy was looking for a front desk receptionist, I thought, okay, maybe I should just, that's something that could fill my time. But yeah, that was the very first moment everything started. Uh, I I was tasked with giving out the private pilot wings and the epaulets when they reach certain milestones. And from there, I was just so amazed at all these people coming in. They're from all different sorts, walk of life, right? All different walks of life. And they came in and they were so proud. They were so happy. Like, it's just epaulets. Like, it's just wings. It's just a piece of metal. I didn't get it. But yeah, a few of them came in. They were crying, but happy tears, of course, because it felt like they jumped through one of the biggest hurdle. And I just got curious, right? And I was like, okay, well, I've never been in a small airplane, although the idea scared me. But then my husband just told me, hey, maybe you should go take a discovery flight. You never know. So I did that, and I realized that it was a pretty nice view up there, I mean, obviously when you're in a bigger airplane, right, you're so high up, you can't really see anything but just layers of clouds. But in a smaller airplane, you can see everything. So yeah, and I thought, okay, well, this is a really nice feeling. I think I can get used to this. And so yeah, with the support of my husband, I was able to start my uh pilot journey.
That's actually like a really cool journey. I never actually heard someone start from actually working with Skyborne to actually be one of their students. So congratulations. Um, Loira, you grew up in Samoa. Can you describe your childhood in Samoa and what were your dreams as a child? And did you ever imagine that aviation would one day become part of your life?
Never. It was Aviation is not a big thing in Samoa. It was the normal jobs would be a teacher, a nurse, a mechanic, like a store owner, a businessman, right? Resort hotel owner. But yeah, I when I went to school, I went to school knowing that I wanted to be a nurse because my grandmother was a really good nurse. And I thought, yeah, I like helping people. Um, and so I was like, yeah, that's what I want to do. And it's growing up, it's a very different life, right? You grow up in the islands, you do chores all day, every day, you go to school, come back, do more chores. Um, and so it was just a very different lifestyle. The only thing you could think of was where you would be in the next 5 years, just in the next 5 years, right? And back home, it's the most sought after position was being a nurse, was being in the medical field. Um, we didn't have any aviation schools, and all of our pilots, when we had an airline back in the days, were usually, people who grew up overseas, and just, yeah, happened to be very fortunate to have, you know, a knowledge or a background in aviation. But yeah, I never thought I would ever have a chance to pursue the my aviation dream. It wasn't even a dream back then too, so it was just, yeah.
And how did you meet your husband? Obviously, because you mentioned that he was your link to you actually starting and even finding out about aviation. How did you guys meet?
So we met online. My husband was still here in the United States, in California, and I was actually a high school teacher um, back in Samoa. So yeah, that's how we met.
Wow, that's such a wholesome story. Laura, what was the transition like moving from Samoa? You mentioned that you moved from Samoa to the United States with your husband in 2022. What was that transition like? How did it shape your perspective on life and opportunities? Yeah, and ultimately, how did you find it? It must have been quite a culture shock, I assume.
It was. It definitely was. There's a thing called island time back home where it's it's just going with the flow, right? Everything is so nice and slow. You take your time. You can do whatever you want to do, what you like to do, and then just figure it out, right? But when I came here, everything was so fast. It was like it felt like I was always trying to run so much harder than everyone that was around me. So it did take quite a while to learn to adapt to how things around me were happening. And something that I was really grateful for was the fact that there were so many opportunities, right? Over here, there's so many things that would help you build, um, your path to careers, so many career opportunities. In Samoa, we don't really have that. And that's something that I'm really, really grateful for, over here. You can do something and you thought, okay, this is where my mindset is. This is what I want to do. And then halfway through, it's so easy for you to just change and do something else, right? And that's something that, I had to do because when I first got here, I went to school to be in the medical field. I wanted to do something in the medical field. But when I moved here to Florida, all of my credits, well, not all, some of my credits, majority of my credits couldn't transfer to a school here in Florida. And so, which I think that was one of the biggest factor that helped me change my career path. Because if I was able to transfer all my credits, I still would have continued to be in the medical field. And I honestly don't know if I would enjoy it. Like maybe I would, maybe I wouldn't. But aviation is definitely something that, uh, you know, I've learned to enjoy the first few times. I have questions like, why did I leave my job, my desk job? That was so grounded. Here, it feels like I'm always like on the lookout for traffic. Like, it's just, it was scary for the first few times. But over time, my confidence started to grow. And then, yeah, everything is now smooth. Hopefully it'll be for the next few, I know, steps, hopefully.
I guess the fact that you wasn't able to transfer all your credits is essentially like a blessing in disguise. I think in the moment you might have thought, oh, this is very frustrating. I wish I was able to continue my studies. But now look where it's led you. So it is very much a blessing in disguise.
It really is. It really is.
And also, you mentioned the fact that compared to living in Samoa, where everyone like goes with the flow and they don't really have a plan, how are we able to adapt to obviously the culture in the US and it being very fast?
Um, it it was a very, like you say, right? It was a huge culture shock. And back home, everyone knows everybody. Everyone is so willing to support the other person, right? Where over here, it's I did have a really nice support system. My husband and his family were super nice, right? They're very supportive, but it coming here made me, you know, become very independent. There were things where I realized, okay, well, I can have my family come do this like with me, right? This is something I have to do on my own. I have to build a self-reliance type of system like by myself. And I never liked it. I've always I grew up with my siblings, with my cousins. We all slept in the same room. Like we all did everything together. When someone was picking a fight with us, we all go fight that one person. So yeah, it was very hard at first. But coming here, it was also a blessing in disguise, because if I did not make that choice, then I don't think I would have ever reached a level of self-independence that I have right now.
That's honestly amazing. And that's like low-key beautiful as well because it's like going from that very much supportive to learning to support yourself in a way in the US, it can be quite a shock. You also mentioned the fact that being around students while working at Skyborne inspired you. Do you remember the exact moment where you realized that I want to do this as well?
Okay, so her name is Marisa Avery. So this student, she started there before I got there, but I noticed that she was always walking. Like she's the only person that I see so much walking in and out of the academic building, in and out in front of like my view, right? Because I have the the view of almost everything. I can see everything outside. And she was always walking with a board. Like it was a whiteboard. It was this huge board. And then she would come in and just, hey, Loira, can you please like print this for me? I did a lot of printing for her. And I thought, oh my gosh, this seems so hard. Like, right, this was after my Discovery Flight 2, and I thought this seems so hard. Like, I don't know if I actually want to do it. But the fact that she came in every day, right? She wanted her things to be perfect. I would see her sit like in one of the rooms in the academic building, just going over her notes, just going over her stuff. And I saw how she was very dedicated. And when she was actually done and she came to get her epaulets from me, it was it was such like a it was such a fulfilling feeling. It was so amazing to see how, to witness someone struggle so, throughout their journey. I don't even think she had 8 hours of sleep every day. Like she would come, like print her stuff with, you could tell she needed to sleep, but she was, hustling. She was putting in the work. And the time when I gave her epaulets, she had this big smile, and and you can tell that she was just so happy. And I thought to myself, when was the last time, I did something that made me feel like that? I mean, obviously, it was the last one was my wedding day, but it's like, when did the last time I did something that I wanted to achieve and feel like that? You know? And so it was that exact moment that um I told myself, you know what? That's what I want to do. I want to feel the same way that she did when she got her CFI epaulets, you know? It's that's what I want to do. I just want to feel happiness.
So beautiful. I mean, you saw the hard work she was putting in. So you was almost able to celebrate her success because you knew what it took her to get to where she got. That's really, really wholesome. And also it's a reminder that in, the young lady that you mentioned, I think her name was Marissa, how she inspired you. Maybe she didn't even realize it. It's an encouragement that when you're doing something, you don't know who you're inspiring. You don't know who's looking at you, who's like very inspired or admired by the work that you're doing. So I guess that's an encouragement to keep going in what you're doing because you never know who's like looking at you kind of thing, if that makes sense. So that's really, really cool as well. What was the time period between your first discovery flight to you actually going on to train to begin your flight training in Skyborne? How long was the time between those two things?
Honestly, I think it was just like less than a month.
Wow.
All because I know, right? So I did my discovery flight, right? But right after that, I was like, wow, this feels really good. But then over the course of the week after my discovery flight, I saw students cry, not because they were happy, but because, they failed the flight. Um, but most of the time I saw students achieving milestones, right? And so in my head, I was trying to weigh, no, would, coming from um a country that, we aviation, it was never a big thing, is never a big thing. I started to question if I was cut out for it. No, I was like, I'm just a girl from a small island that's a dot on the map to a place filled with people who have seen planes fly over, you know, probably had I don't know, a rich uncle or cousin that had a plane or something. It made me feel a little bit insignificant, but seeing Marisa, it didn't matter. I even talked to her one time and she said, yeah, it's hard, but I know it'll be rewarding. And so that was something that helped me change my mindset. Everyone is the same. How you learn probably is different, but we're all human beings, right? We're all trying to achieve the same goal, right? To succeed in what we do and then do something better for yourself. And so, yeah, I think it took me that amount of time, just like less than a week, to come to a realization. And then I started talking to the Skyborne administrators and I told them like, hey, I really loved working here and I'm grateful to meet all of you guys, but um I want to do something else, right? Instead of sitting behind the desk or computer, I want to go out there to the flight line. I want to become a pilot. And everyone was so supportive. Um and they wanted me to start as soon as possible. I was trying to buy my time because, I know I had a lot of things to prepare for, but they were, really good. They were really amazing at pushing me along. So I was out of there less than a month.
Wow. And now, Loira, fast forward, you're a single engine rated pilot, a multi-engine rated pilot, and an instrument rated pilot. Which part of your training do you think was the most challenging and why?
It was definitely instrument. um so this is something, I don't know if this is a myth or but I've heard from so many students who have loved and enjoyed uh, instrument that they were really into computer games. I don't know how, I don't know why, but for some reason they said, yeah, well, it was easier of a transition for me, like for them, because they're just very technique, like very technological people. Whereas for me, I did not grow up with those stuff. TV was just a small box. I didn't grow up with any You know, I didn't grow up with any video games, so to me, when I first went into instrument, there were so many buttons I had to press in the aircraft, in the cockpit, to pull up an approach, right? To put in like different frequencies. So it was a lot of challenge for me. And especially because English is my second language. So a lot of the times you're given instructions in English of what to do, how high you have to climb, where you to turn headings. And so me, I was trying to like press the buttons, multitask, load the approach and everything. And at the same time, trying to repeat like this really fast English speaker and trying to repeat the same thing back. So it was definitely, uh, you know, it was a hard transition, a lot harder than the rest. But I had a really good instructor who showed me the ropes, and yeah, it was fun actually. Towards the end, when I got my rating, I realized how a lot easier it is to fly with when you have an instrument rating than just, you know, a a VFR, just flying VFR. It's a lot easier, but it was definitely challenging. I'm glad it's passed, but it's rewarding knowing that you can fly when conditions are, below VFR.
And also, when did you learn English, by the way? Just out of curiosity.
I started learning English when we have. Do you guys have primary school or elementary?
We have primary school in the UK.
Okay, it's the same for us then. I started learning that when I went to primary school. But only because my my mom, she spoke English most of her life. Just because she was able to go to Hawaii for school. Um, and so yeah, she taught me how to speak English and with the rest of my siblings. But it was kind of hard to speak it daily because when I go to primary school, right, everything is taught in Samoan. Obviously, the only subject that's taught in English is English, but everything else was taught in Samoan. So, but yeah, when I first went to primary school, that was when I first started to learn English.
And on the topic of languages, I don't think I've ever heard what Samoan sounds like. Could you say something? Maybe like, "Hi, I'm Laura, a pilot, and I'm on the Flyper podcast. It's Samoan. I'd love to hear it."
Okay.
You say that.
Okay, sweet. Ready? Okay. Talofa, olo ingoa, olo ira mayava Escobar, olo yaine mamaya, maitana ile Fly With Me podcast, o se pailate inei America, o waluile o ngai tau le Skyborne Airline Academy.
Woo!
Oh, that sounds cool. That sounds really cool. Have you never had Samoan before? I don't think so, anyway.
Yeah.
So many
It
vowels.
sounds like a pretty language. It really does.
It is. Yeah. It's a lot of vowels, but
Yeah.
it's
Also,
there.
yeah, and also like just I know this is a bit like I know we're about to like digress a little bit, but what is the history behind Samoa and the different tribes and the different islands?
Um, well, it's it's oh my gosh. If you were to ask this question to a Tongan, to a Hawaiian, I'm pretty sure they're all gonna say yes. We all started from Tonga or Hawaii, right? But I I believe that we were all once just like one people. Um, and then where the Pacific Islanders are very well known voyagers, right? We're the ones who made the attempt to sail right across the Pacific Ocean. And I believe that we were all together at one point, and then because everyone just started to sail and find more lands. And so that's just where, you know, all the other islands and all the other countries in the Pacific and Polynesia started emerging from. But yeah, we're basic cousins, you know.
Also, the flower in your above your ear, does that mean anything?
Yes. So the flower is sorry, can you guys hear the thunderstorms?
Yeah, we
The
just
thunder?
heard that.
Yeah. Vero Beach, Florida. But yes, I the flower is just something that symbolizes you know, beauty, I guess, in where I grew up. And it's not necessarily like a cultural thing, but it's just okay, yeah, you see a flower, you see walk by, you like it, put it on your ear. But it was in the old days, it was a way for men, right, and women to identify if you are married or not. And so, um, growing up, I always wear my flower on my right ear because I was single. I wasn't married, and so now it's on my left. It means I'm married. So not available for the asking.
That's so beautiful. And I've noticed, like, in your, for example, your profile picture for your Instagram, that you have the flower in your ear. So it's very beautiful. They're able to weave your culture and your identity into aviation. I think that's really, really, lovely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for real.
Yeah, it's mainly because you know, I'm hoping that by the flower, you know, some Polynesians or Micronesians, right? Or any of the Pacific Islanders who are in aviation will see it, right? Because I married into a Latino last name. So a lot of people I meet, it's like, hey, what's your name? I say, Loira Escobar. They said, oh, okay, you're Latina. And I'm like, no, I married into the Latino culture, but I'm Pacific Islander. And so because yeah, my profile, you see my profile, I'm always wearing flower. It's so that, you know, it's easy for other people in the Pacific Islands to, you know, just to see and just to let them know that, hey, you know what? She can do it. I can probably do it too, right? It's yeah, there are not that many Pacific Islanders in the aviation industry. There's very few of us. And so I'm hoping that, you know, this flower symbolizes, uh, you know, growth and strength that if you put your mind to it and your heart to it, you can do it.
And what would your advice be to a young Samoan girl who is looking on to maybe watching this podcast or looking onto your story, even if they come across your page and they notice the flower on your ear and like, oh, she's Samoan like me. What would your be advice to that young girl who maybe dreams of pursuing aviation or just has big dreams of doing anything? What would your advice be to that young girl?
Um, I would definitely tell her to, you know, you can definitely do it. Um, there's no way that she wouldn't be able to do it. You know, my people, and a lot of the people in the Pacific Islands, we're, like I said, right, we're known for our ancestors being voyagers of the sea. And I just want to say, hey, just because our ancestors were voyagers of the sea doesn't mean we get to just be voyagers of the sea. We can also be voyagers of the sky, right? Just sail across the sky. Just like how our ancestors used to sail across the sea, make those big moments, make that big step. It might sound super scary, right? It might sound very new, but there's everyone in the aviation industry that I've met are very supportive. It's you know it's it was hard for me at first because I thought that I was going to be alone, right? Being the only Polynesian in my school, but I've noticed that everyone who had a different background, we all shared the same goal. We all want to pass check rights, right? We all want the lessons to pass. We all stress over not passing, we're not doing well during a flight. And everyone's just, they're all humans, just like me. And it's, it's definitely doable as long as put your mind to it. If it's something that you really want, go chase it. There should be no limitations on what you can do. The only person that can put limits on you is yourself, right? So there's so many resources out there as well. If money is if money is an issue, it's, you can start small. Okay. YouTube is like, I feel like it's a very good resource out there for a lot of people who are trying to get into aviation, right? Start studying while save up for work. Also Skyborne Airline Academy has really good, um, finance programs that they have, or companies they have partnered with, that will help you, finance your school as you start your training and then pay back when you're done. But yeah, basically anyone can do it. If a girl from Samoa can do it, I'm pretty sure anyone can do it. It's just a matter of, are you willing to sacrifice your sleep, you know, your peace of mind for it? It's just up to you.
Thank you for your advice, Laura. I'm sure many girls out there would find it helpful, and hopefully they will go after their dreams. So you mentioned the fact that your aviation journey really began after your husband was accepted into the Delta program. Do you feel like pursuing aviation together has strengthened your relationship in any way?
It definitely has. When I think I mentioned this before, but my husband would come home and just talk about his flights, talk about the maneuvers that he was doing, and then talking about, okay, yeah, well, I finished this. This is what I'm gonna do next. And in my head, I was really trying to be a supportive wife, right? I was like, oh wow, that is so amazing. But I'm like, I have no idea what he's saying. I don't know what he just said, but I think it's the right thing to do. Like, yeah, that great, good for you. I'm supporting you all the way. And then our conversation was just very limited to, we had a lot of things to talk about, right? But I, it was interesting because he wasn't frustrated, but I was frustrated because he was telling me what he went through throughout his day. And then he was also taking so much time to explain to me what he meant. And so it's like, but I was just there listening. It's like, yeah, sure, great. Now let's move on to the next subject, right? But right now, we have so much more to talk about. Like, our conversation has shifted dramatically to discussing things, right? It feels so good to know the same thing and then have a different perspective from it, right? Because I would do a maneuver and I would get frustrated because, okay, well, I'm doing exactly as it should. But he said, well, did you change this or did you do this, right? And then to me, it just clicked. It was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And then, we would watch um, an episode of a crash, right? An aircraft crash. And then we would just talk about it. It's like, okay, well, what happened? It feels so good to be on the same level of understanding with the one that, you spend 24/7 with. So it's really good. We have so much to talk about. We critique each other's flights. It's, landings. It's like, oh yeah, I had the softest landing today. And he goes, oh, well, actually I had the soft landing today. So, it's fun. It's our conversation has changed a lot more for the better.
That's very nice. And Laura, we know that as aspiring pilots, and Aitana is now a student pilot, we know that the journey to becoming a pilot isn't always linear. What kept you going during the difficult phases of your training?
Something that has helped me is, um, definitely keeping the goal. Like I would, keep the goal where you can see it visually, where you can see it, right? Put it on a sticky note, put it in front of your mirror, right? As you're brushing your hair to go get ready for your flight, you see it. Just keep that goal in the center of your mind and every day, right? Read it every day. Tell yourself, okay, what do I want to do? What do I want to get out from this journey? And my goal for me was to provide a better life for my parents. As a lot of people know, my parents are still in Samoa. And so, there are times when I wanted so much to quit. It was, things were getting hard, especially in instrument. But, I would, after each lesson, after each unsatisfactory lesson, I would just come in the car, call my parents, and, seeing them, being able to see them and talk to them on the phone, gave me that extra motivation. Like, you know what? If today didn't go well, there's always tomorrow, right? There's always room for improvement, right? So, um, yeah, having that goal, make sure you go through your goal every day. It should, help you overcome the challenges that you have in your aviation journey. A lot of people have different goals, right? I don't know what um my friends' goals are, but my goal was that, to provide a better life for my parents. And so that's something that I've always had in my mind. And so I would tell myself, okay, if I fail today, I can't afford to fail tomorrow, right? Because there are people that are depending on me. And so that's, visualize your goal every day, and it'll help you in the long run, especially when you feel like you don't want to do it anymore.
And your parents and your family must be very proud of you that you're knowing that you're pursuing aviation. Given that you mentioned that it's not very in your where you grew up, it was not very common. So they must be very, very proud of you and what you've been able to achieve thus far.
Yeah, they are. They're very proud. Um, but yeah, it's been an interesting journey. It's Yeah. So I think when my parents first heard that I passed my private pilot license, they were so happy. They cried. And then they asked me, so when are you going to the when are you moving on to the big plane? And I said, no, it doesn't work like that. Like I still have a lot of other ratings, to do. So every rating that I achieve or, um, get, they would ask the same question. So what, are you moving on to the big plane now? Big plane? So I was like, no, no, not today. Not in I know the next 3 years. But yeah.
And I'm sure they're also proud as well, since the fact that you are breaking a lot of barriers, since you do come from a very different culture and from a culture where they don't really see aviation as a big thing. So yeah, it must be very inspiring in your community, I guess, in a way.
Yeah, it is. It's such a good feeling to, try to inspire um the younger generations back in the village, right? It's something that I've noticed growing up. I have a lot of people my age, right after primary school, they would just go back to, start doing plantation, right? Planting taros, being fishermen. There was not really that much of a emphasis on education. And so, it's something that I hope to change, to be that emulation of, of the generation after me, that they don't have to do, aviation, right? There's so many careers out there, but they just need to keep going, right? Don't just think, okay, after this is as much education as I want to get, that, okay, that's fine with me, right? I want to I want to help them think and feel that there's always something more, right, to chase. Like, don't 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 stop after primary school, right? Go for high school. After high school, go for university. Okay? Like there's always something bigger that you can go for. Don't just limit yourself just because you think you're just a kid from the village. You can do more. And when you do more and when you're at that level, you can then turn back and help your community. Right? So that's something that I also want to do, is that when I'm at the level where I know that I can help my community, I do want to, um, start a program, like a small aviation program in the islands, to help students who are interested, and try and help them transition them to overseas where they can pursue their career in aviation.
Thank you, Loira. And also, aviation can be quite intense. What do you do to like relax and switch off and just like calm yourself for a bit?
Um, I I just come home and vent to my husband. I vent at first, but then I'm really into dancing, and that's something that has helped me in the past. My mom was a great dancer. She's a great dancer, and so I've always seen how she's just like this very calm person when she's teaching people how to dance. She loves it, and it always brings a smile to her face. And so, yeah, when things get tough, I just come home, vent first, get all the frustration out, and then I just put on some music and just dance. Like that's yeah, my number one way of de-stressing. So yeah, very weird, but
No, I
yeah.
don't think it's weird. I love to dance as well, like literally I'll dance anywhere. Ask Maya, she dance anywhere. I'll dance at events, I'll dance when I'm eating. I'll literally
We'll,
if it's
we'll, we'll be pre-recording. We'll be going through things. And I tell her we'll be dancing. Like we'll be having a conversation and she's just dancing. But yeah, that's that's good.
Oh my gosh. I mean, hey, it works, so
I
that's
mean,
what
whatever gets you to de-stress and relax.
yeah.
Whatever.
yeah.
And finally, Laura, looking into the future, what are your hopes and dreams for your aviation goals? Is there a specific aircraft or airline that's on your vision board that you want to fly for in the future? Please let us know.
Of course. So when I'm done with instructing and once I get my hours, I would really love to fly for Breeze. Um, just because I love how fast that airline has grown in such a small, like short time, and they're very ambitious. I love that. And one of the main reasons why I'm also interested to fly for Breeze is that they have a direct flight from here to Vero Beach. It's one of the airlines, very few airlines that operate out of Vero Beach. So I love Florida. I'm hoping to stay here for the next 5-6 years. And just you know work with Greece. But in the long run, for the bigger airlines, the end goal is definitely to be in the same cockpit with my husband. Um, Honestly, I don't even care if I'm his first officer or he's my first officer. It's so fun and it's so amazing to do something together with the person that you love. And there was no way I was letting him go to all these different new places without me, right? So I'm like, okay, what do I do so that I can ensure I'm going to the same place with him, like a new place with him, right? And so aviation was that option. And So yeah, hoping to be able to fly with him for Delta. He is in the Delta program, so yeah, hopefully they'll share the same cockpit and how people connect with their families all over the world, but most especially be able to fly someone from the islands to, America or to Canada or to the UK, right? In pursuit of their dreams, because that's literally how I got here. That's literally how I was able to pursue my dream. An airplane was able to, ship me over from Samoa all the way to America just so that I can have um, the chance to pursue so many opportunities. So, yeah.
Thank you so much, Loira, for telling us about your story and how you moved from one culture to another and how that you had to adapt to that. It really is inspiring, and I hope that you inspire many, many, not only girls but boys as well in your community and in the islands as well. So thank you for coming on the podcast today.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, Laura, your story is so touching and so inspiring, and we honestly wish you and your husband the very best in your aviation journeys. Honestly, wish you all the best.
Thank you. Thank you. You guys as well. Good luck. And hopefully
Thank
I see
you.
you guys here.
Yes,
Yes.
Hopefully. Hopefully.
one day. So that is it for today. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe, and follow us on Instagram and TikTok at the Fly With Her podcast.
Don't forget to tune in, take off, and fly with her.
See you in the next episode. Bye.
Bye.